Hello, hello, beautiful soul. How are you doing today? I pray that you are doing well and that you are full of vitality. That is my prayer for you, my biggest wish. But I realize that may not be the case. Not saying that everything is based on Mercury being retrograde, but I have to say there have been many people in my world who have been seriously challenged, and I'm one of them. Yes. I went through some energy shifts in January and February. Yes, certainly part of that was due to losing one of my dear friends to colon cancer, but there were other things going on that it just felt like I was being sucked through a portal. I know that sounds a little bit weird and probably too woo woo, but that's really how it felt. Like I was feeling shifts physically and physiologically. And those shifts seem to have kind of calmed down at the moment. And even though Mercury's still doing retrograde, um, there are a few of us that are emerging. And I wanted to talk about this idea of emerging from the darkness. Because if you happen to be someone who is going through a dark time, I just want to say it will not last forever. It will not last forever. That has been my mantra for weeks now. Like it was interesting because the year started off on such a high. I had time off in the mountains at this Buddhist retreat center. I got to celebrate New Year's in community, and it was really beautiful. And I had just this window of time where felt like, hey, life is good. I know where I'm going. I know what I'm doing. And then there were some shifts. And then I heard from other people who were like kind of like dropping out and going into hiding and processing. And one of the things that came up was that feeling like, oh my God, is this darkness going to last forever? Now, I don't know what it's like for you when you go through stuff. I try to reflexively say now, this will not last forever. Mainly because I remember when I was really dealing with depression, and I literally felt like it's going to last forever. Like I can just tell that this is going to be my life. And that's typically for people who deal with depression. When you're going through a dark period of depression, your thoughts are not as clear as you'd want them to be. And many of us find that it's easier to give in to that feeling of this is probably going to stretch out for the rest of our lives. And that's why so many people end up suicidal. It's because they feel like this is going to go on forever. So if you happen to know someone who's dealing with depression, anxiety, or loss, someone who's going through a dark time, please share this video with them because I want more people to realize that part of our journey means we're going to go through highs and lows. It means that as an earthling on the planet, there are going to be times where we go through darkness, but it never lasts forever. It may last for years for some things, for some people, but it's never forever. And when you talk to people who've been through periods of depression, I had a conversation with Rob Goddard, and he is in our new film that's coming out about resilience and about what it takes to like consciously evolve. And one of these top 10 traits of highly resilient people is persistence. And persistence means you've got to stay focused and fixed on your goal. Now, there are some caveats to that, but let me say this. The challenge that most of us face when we're going through darkness is all we see is the darkness. Even when there's like a little flicker of light, we don't grab onto it. And that's just a natural human tendency. You know, the neuroanthropologists tell us that the human brain that we've inherited has had millions of years of evolution where our ancestors had to be really tuned into the threats in the environment. And if they weren't, then they'd be dead. And because they were very tuned in to anything that could go wrong or put them at risk, that trait has been passed down to us. And so, in the words of, I don't know if it's Rick Hansen or Dan Siegel, they're two of my favorites, but I think it's Rick Hansen. He says that the brain is like Velcro for negative experience, and it's like Teflon for the good. The good stuff just slips away. And that's until and unless you become conscious of the good. And so when you're going through darkness and you see one little thing, some funny little meme on social media, or the birds flying in the sky, or a beautiful sunset, then you've got to savor it and focus on it. And so one of the things in this book, the top 10 traits of highly resilient people, there's a chapter on persistence. And you'll read 4 different stories in here about people who like have been through stuff way crazier than my little drama back in January. But it's this constant need to recalibrate and retune in and focus on your vision and your goal in life. That could be part of it. And anything that flickers around you, that any little bit of light. Because the reality is, for most of us, whether you're going through darkness because there's something going on to you physically, financially, or in your family or business, or maybe you're going after a goal like building a new business or launching a new career or even raising a teenager, you may realize that to get to your end point, that destination, that goal, it's going to take years. And you've got to stay positively focused and driven to get to that end point. But you don't want to be stuck feeling like, oh my God, my life is drudgery all the way through there. You want to get to a point where you find moments of joy and peace and tranquility. And this has been really, really, really brought home to me now, because after years of holding up my eye on a particular vision, something I've been looking to manifest, a couple of really big things I'm going to announce next week. And I mean, for me, they are huge. Not just because they're big announcements of great things in my life, but they were also really scary things that I had to, just like I tell my clients and students, like I had to step up. I had to level up my game, my confidence. When there were times when I was in doubt, when there were times of darkness, and I thought things weren't going my way, I had to like tune back in, remember that vision, stay focused on that goal, and any little glimmer of hope, I had to focus on that and not get distracted by the drudgery that I was seeing around me and that feeling that maybe I'm not going to get there. Maybe my goal is not realistic. You know, I'm human too. As much as I practice positivity, there are moments when things will feel like complete drudgery, and I go through the same kind of doubts that anyone else might. But I can tell you, if you'll tune in next week when I get to share this exciting news, it is so worth it to stay focused on the positive. It is so worth it to dig deep, surround yourself with positive people. I don't believe in sharing your big plans and things with everybody because, hey, we're affected by other people's energy. There's some people, you tell them a goal, they may not want to even see you achieve that goal, because not just that they might be jealous of you, but because that means that you're shining a light that shows how much they're not, moving forward, going after their goals, or they kind of liked you in that little square role that you were in. And this whole idea of you like leveling up puts them at risk of losing who you used to be. So I don't recommend that you tell everyone your plans and your visions. I just don't. I'm one of those people that believes that you hold certain things close to the chest, close to the vest. You share with the people who are truly on your side and want the best for you. And then you've got to hold that vision and stay focused. So, a couple of the things that I'm announcing next week have been in the works literally for years. A couple of the things that I'm announcing next week, which is part of an entire rebranding of my podcasts and of the work that I'm doing in the world. My live events are taking on a whole new energy. And these are visions that I've had for myself since I was a kid. I was sharing with one of our luminaries, Willow McIntosh. He and I are shooting some videos this week, and I shared with him one of the shifts that's going on in my live events. So you may have seen I did a little demonstration of something called the Mind Mirror. And the Mind Mirror is this EEG software that when you put on these electrodes on your head, you can measure your brain waves as you're doing meditation, and you can see when you're getting into these deep states of meditation and even an awakened mind pattern, which is associated with healing, with creativity, and intuition. And so I'm partnering with Dr. Arne Heisel and Judith Pennington from the Institute for the Awakened Mind. I did training with them last year for my birthday using this Mind Mirror software. And I can tell you that since I came back from that training in November, I'm a meditator since my 20s and I'm almost 50. And the shifts that I've experienced since November have been extraordinary. And as a result of that, I'm like, we need to bring this into my live events. So that's one of the announcements I can make now. So my live event in California with the beautiful Karina Virginia, who is a Kundalini yogi. She and I do a retreat called Inner Bliss for Outer Glow, which is all about healing, transforming, and really letting your light shine. Well, for a couple of days of that 5-day retreat, Dr. Arne Heisel and I will be hooking up people's heads and measuring their brain waves as we lead them into these meditations. And so with this EEG monitoring and biofeedback, neurofeedback that we can do, you can actually learn how to get into these states of consciousness that are associated with, healing, creativity, intuition, and even enlightenment. And so in May at 1440, in addition to the meditation work, the yoga, and me teaching the cornerstone process that's in this beautiful book, we're also going to be training and letting people see what it's like to get into these expanded states of consciousness that you can see on the screen. We're also going to be doing that in Iceland with a beautiful yogi and shaman named Soul Whitefire. And Arne and I will be leading people on a 2-day workshop in Iceland where we can hook you up. And in 2 days, you will have accomplished a couple of few years of meditation. So, I'm not going to say it's 40 years of Zen because that takes maybe a week, but in a couple of days, you will be able to experience that. So these are things I'm telling you now that if you'd ask me as a kid, like if you could wave a magic wand, Andrea, and do whatever you really, really want, what would it be? And as I was telling Willow, like I dreamt of having like a university where each of us could learn how to develop our superpowers. Because as a kid, I knew that I had this ability to see things, know things, hear things. Like I knew that I had this sensitivity. Now we might call it being an empath, or having high sensory intelligence. But I didn't know that not everybody had some of these abilities. When I did encounter some other people who said they too had dreams or they could see things or feel things or hear things, I was like, wouldn't it be cool if we like could get together and like learn how to develop these superpowers? Now, I didn't grow up reading comic books, so I didn't know about X-Men. So when I finally saw the movie, I was like, That's it. Oh my gosh. Well, that dream, this is just one example of this persistence thing. That dream is a vision that I've held, not like I intended to go out and start a business to do this, but it was just sort of this dream or this fantasy. Like, wouldn't it be amazing if we could help people figure out what their gifts are, normalize it so you don't feel like a freak or a weirdo, and then help you train to develop them in a safe space so you're not going to blow stuff up or hurt anyone. But then you could use your divine gifts and talents and abilities in service to others, in service to our planet, in service to all of humanity. So, this is something that is now evolving in my work in a much bigger way. And so, yes, that's the thing I can share with you now. If you come to any of my live events, including GLAY, the Global Luminary Activation Experience, I know that's a mouthful, in August here in the south of France, you'll be able to experience getting hooked up to the mind mirror so that you can learn how to use these meditations to enhance your states of consciousness. So we'll be doing that at all of my events. But I do hope that you'll tune in with me next week where I can share these other really big announcements that for me have been literally in the works for years. Because this is the demonstration of persistence. Were there times that I doubted? Absolutely. Were there times that I wanted to give up or I thought, oh, I might as well give up because these things aren't moving as fast as I wanted them to? Absolutely. But you know that saying that they say, we make plans and God laughs. That's definitely how it felt for me. But I can tell you that if it's a health challenge, financial challenge, relationship challenge, whatever darkness you're going through, it will not last forever. And in the meantime, you've got to look for the light. Look for the light within you. Look for the light that shines in the vision that you originally had. And if you didn't have an original vision for where you really wanted things to go, now is the perfect time to create that vision. If you could imagine getting through this dark period, what would you want your life to be like? If we could wave a magic wand, what would be different on the other side? So when we can tune into a vision, it starts to create a sense of hope. When we can create a vision, then we can start to make certain plans. Even if they're tiny baby steps, or as the beautiful Malin Headland says, ant steps will add up to us making progress. I grew up in Denver, Colorado, and my mother was a huge Broncos fan. I always loved the Dallas Cowboys. Don't know why. It's just some sort of an outlaw thing. But I used to watch the games with my mom, and she would host all these Super Bowl parties. And watching American football, I was like, why do they do this little flick? Like these little flea flicker things. I'm like, they're not moving the ball. Like, I want the long passes, like move that ball. And of course, as I got older and became a cheerleader in high school, I was a cheerleader during football season. And I really got to understand more about the game. And it's like, okay, fine. I might love those long passes where you just, you throwing these touchdown passes. But there is something to be said for moving the ball a couple yards down. There is something to be said for the ant steps that you take. You don't even have to take baby steps. So when you're going through the darkness, you've got to look at any little ant step that you can, anything that you can do to hold on to the light. And so the way that we develop hope, which is part of our hero capacity, the way we develop hope is feeling like we have a sense of control. So even though you're in the darkness, even though you may have a goal that's going to take you years to accomplish, you've got to set out little baby steps, little milestones that are achievable. And when you achieve them, you've got to celebrate them, acknowledge them, celebrate them, do a little happy dance, pat on the back. Do not celebrate with food, especially if you're trying to lose weight or health is part of your challenge. You do not want to condition the brain that, you only celebrate with food. But you need to celebrate and let yourself let these things sink in. You've got to remind yourself that there is light within you, there is light within this world, and that you do have a sense of ability to move forward, something we call agency, feeling like you have a sense of control. Because for some of these things that I'm going to share with you next week, I felt like I had zero control in how these things were moving forward. But the things that I could control that's where I had to put my focus. And that's what persistence is about. It's about digging deep and knowing that you can make some steps and some headway toward manifesting your goals. All right? So I just wanted to share this very brief little update, because I know that some of you have been struggling like I have, and whether you're starting to see that little ray of sun or not, please know that the darkness will not last forever. It never does. Even if it's, like the last leg of the race where the sun finally comes out, it will come. So please know that I am sending you so much love and so much support here from France and around the world as I make my travels. Please know that you are loved, you are appreciated, you matter so very much. It doesn't matter if you feel like you're playing the tiniest role right now in this whole earth drama. You matter. Your presence matters. All right, dear friend? So tune in next week as I share my big news. And if you are going through some darkness, get yourself a copy of the top 10 traits of highly resilient people. Check out the interviews that we've been doing on YouTube and Facebook, because you can tune into the resilience that is within you. We all have it. We all have these resilience factors. They just need to be strengthened. Okay? All right. Much love, my friend. Have a fabulous rest of your week.